Are you ready for me to go through another one of your CVs step by step to be able to give you advice on how you can optimize your own? Well, stick around and let's do this thing today on this episode of Navigating Academia. What's up, Navigating Academia family? This is Dr. J. Phoenix Singh coming at you with another episode of Navigating Academia, your leading source for guidance on how you can advance your career in academia. Now, you guys know that I love you, so please do take a second before we get started in today's episode to be able to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and if you enjoy our content here on the channel and you want to really support us in making new original content, please consider becoming a patron via our Patreon account, which we recently opened. We'd really appreciate it. Keeps us super motivated, gives you exclusive access to content that's not on the regular YouTube channel that we're building on all of the time. You get a one-on-one shout out from me in an episode, and in addition to that, you get discounts off of one-on-one coaching with me. Now, like I said, this is a limited series of videos that I'm doing where I'm doing a deep dive into your CVs that you've sent me, that you're using for everything from applying to graduate school, to applying to postdoc positions, to applying for tenure track jobs, or applying for industry positions. Whatever it happens to be, I've got your back. So after this limited series is over, please do not hesitate to book a one-on-one session with me via the website below, and we can do this kind of a deep dive into your CV to be able to maximize your likelihood of success for whatever endeavor you're using that CV to be able to shoot for, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so let's get cracking here on this CV review. As you can see, I've gone through and redacted certain parts of the CV itself out of the concern for privacy, and I'll do that for anybody who goes ahead and sends me this kind of information. So let's go ahead and get cracking. Those of you who have watched other CV videos know that I have several steps when it comes to CVs. First thing I do is to zoom out kind of like this. This is a 4-page CV. I'm used to seeing CVs that are at least several pages. Now this individual already has a PhD, and so possibly is looking for a tenured track position, which would be very exciting. You know how it is these days, very challenging to be able to get tenured track positions because over 80% of all new faculty positions are non-tenured track positions. So the first thing that I do is I kind of take a 10,000-foot view, I zoom back as it were, both metaphorically as well as literally, as you can see here. And I kind of go through each one of the 4 different pages, so you'll see me kind of scrolling down here in a moment. And really what I'm looking for here, go ahead and get this option, there we go. What I'm looking for here is a general sense of formatting. How does everything kind of look before I actually read any of the content? Particularly what I'm looking for is spacing, and I'm also looking for whether or not everything looks, for lack of a better term, clean, right? So this has to do with things like improper spacing, use of a mixture of, let's say, justified text and left flush text, these sorts of things, different types of font, different kinds of tabbing over and such, all that kind of information, different kinds of bolding, and so forth. So let's go ahead and take a look together at kind of the overall structure of this CV. So first of all, up here at the top, I've redacted a bunch of information. I like that they have the telephone number, the email address. Here, the individual has a link to their portfolio, which obviously for some subspecialties will be relevant, for others not so much. What I would say here, my only comment if I zoom in, is that I don't recommend using these little diamonds. These little diamonds, when it comes to this particular font, are too similar to the letter O. So I recommend using something that's filled in with black and that is a different size, preferably. And possibly even a different shape. As you can see here in terms of the address, so the individual who sent this to me is from Brazil, and so just make sure that whatever the address is that it's formatted in such a way that if I sent, let's say, a package or a letter directly to that address, it would be received. That's the most important thing. Okay, so let's go ahead, we'll zoom back out here and take a look at all 4 pages. So I like this spacing. I like that we have an equal amount of space here, as well as here, as well as here. I think in this particular case, the thickness of the flat line that we have here, here, and here, that all works very well. I like that underneath that, we've got all caps. I like that underneath that, everything goes back to a regular font size. I think that that's terrific. Let's go ahead and take a look at page 2. Page 2, I have an issue with the spacing here. We clearly have enough space here at the bottom to add at least one more space here and one more space down here. On this page now, so here, this looks like okay, so this is also under professional experience, so that's kind of continuing that. One thing I noticed is that we don't have page numbers, so we need to add page numbers here. Let's say that I print this whole thing out, and then whoops, I trip, and all of a sudden the pages go flying. I'm not going to know what pages 1, 2, 3, and 4 are, so that's going to be an important thing to incorporate. So here we go, page 2, page 3. Okay, now we get to the good stuff. When I say the good stuff, publications, especially if you're looking for a faculty position, I'm looking for publications, I'm looking for external funding, I'm looking for conference presentations, and as you can see here, we have publications, journal articles, and publications, conference contributions. Now, the big thing here is that, as you can see, most of the time we're looking at kind of proceedings. Why is that important? If we were to click on any of these, so I clicked on the first one here, for example, and it's something that's actually formally been published, as it were, within the conference proceedings for a conference. Now, let's say that you're in something like psychology. That does happen, but pretty rarely. I remember one time I had a conference proceeding published for, I think it was in Prague, in Czech Republic, and had kind of a mini paper, as it were, published in some proceedings. That said, usually in certain fields like psychology, for instance, you would not have something that would say publications, conference contributions. You would have something that would say conference presentations, right? It could just be presentations. I really prefer conference presentations because then you can have another one that would be invited presentations and workshops. Right, so those would be kind of the 2 subsections I would recommend if you're in a field other than this particular one, okay? And it looks like, I believe this one's engineering, right? Yeah, electrical engineering. Okay, cool. My father was an electrical engineer, so pretty cool, before he got into business. Okay, so we've got publications, journal articles. If these are all peer-reviewed journal articles, you may as well just say peer-reviewed journal articles. Here, publications, conference. Okay, I'm looking at the hyphen. This is good. A lot of consistency here, which I love. The spacing is all consistent. I love that everything is squared up. This is a very clean-looking CV. I'm quite pleased with it so far without looking at the specific content. Let's see, here and here. Let's see. Yes, so I'm thinking that it's not possible to be able to get this final piece here on the preceding page. That would be nice. It's even something where if you wanted to, we could probably even take out number 8 because this is 8 years old at this stage. Just something that you may want to take into consideration here, just for the cleanliness of the CV. But if it's a formal contribution in terms of kind of a conference proceeding, then I would say, you know what, leave it in there. Let's see. Another option I suppose you could explore, it seems like, for this piece, and this piece, potentially this piece, you could actually take the link and put it up. This one you can't put it up, this one you can't put it up, this one you can put it up here, this here, this here. Why? It'll save the space, and that way you can actually get this on here on the preceding page. It'll make it look a lot cleaner. And then here, this is invited talks and presentations, right? So for this one, it's like a little bit confusing to somebody who is not in engineering. I'll tell you that if you're in engineering, this could be a total standard way of doing it. From somebody who is not, if I'm looking at this, I see invited talks and presentations, I get a little bit confused, right? I would think that a talk and a presentation are the same thing, maybe just invited presentations, right? Let's see. This is also, is it a paper presentation, a poster presentation? This says, okay, so this is an invited talk. Instead of a talk, I would say a lecture. Talk kind of seems a little unprofessional. I would say if you said lecture, it probably would sound more professional. And then awards and scholarships. Okay, awards, always a good thing. We've got scholarships. Got it. Okay, research activities. If these are journals, italicize all of them, right? Research activities, this is kind of a strange thing, right? You can just say ad hoc peer reviewer, right, is what I would say, and hyphenate peer reviewer, right? Research activities doesn't make a lot of sense because you're not talking about the work that you're doing, and technically these are the things that would justify having a research heading. Okay, so that's what I would say there. And then volunteer work, never a bad thing. One thing that I noticed in terms of the font is that obviously the font here is the same as the font for the HTTPS piece here, right? But down here, this is a completely different font down here. And I've seen this happen a few other times. Let's see if we can find the other time that I noticed it. Okay, right here, right for this link, it's different. And on this page, also right here, it's different. I do love, though, that you've got hyperlinks in here. I think that is a terrific idea. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the actual content here. Font sizing seems good. Okay, so as you guys know, I'm not a big believer in having things like a career summary at the very beginning. Honestly, it's not necessary, especially if it's the case that this kind of content is already in a personal statement, in letters of recommendation, or is already represented within the rest of the CV. Now, I do think here, certain things like this isn't really a career summary, these are just skill sets, right? So you may want to have certain things like skill sets elsewhere in the CV itself, right? Let's see. Okay, let's start with the beginning. PhD degree. I mean, the PhD is a degree, so that's kind of redundant. In electrical engineering from this university with research related to fault prognostics and development of tools to improve fault detection and diagnostics in the industrial context using probabilistic and AI models. So remember that unless it's multiple sentences, we don't need a semicolon, we don't need a period or anything like that, right? So let's go ahead and take that out. Here, capitalized C in core, R in received, D in developed. As you can see, it's inconsistent because here A is already capitalized, T here is also capitalized. Core competency in, I don't know why that's capitalized, in data analytics, software engineering, real-time predictive algorithms, and incremental learning systems, delete the period. Also doesn't make sense that we have a period here and then we're going back to semicolons and then we got a period and a period. It just doesn't make sense. That lack of consistency will not do you any favors, so make sure to be able to get those back into working order. 11, reviewed publication. That doesn't make sense. Capitalize 11 and say peer-reviewed publication. Reviewed publications could suggest that you just reviewed publications. You didn't get them, right? So received 2 scholarships. You can just remove received, just say capital T, 2 scholarships to study new learning mechanisms in AI for fault detection, diagnostics, and electrical systems, comma with one of them to study in the US for a year. Okay, 11 reviewed publications. See, the order of the CV, though, remember, is that in terms of 2 scholarships relative to the publications, if I zoom out and I kind of go down, awards and scholarships is after publications. So if you are going to have this kind of section, you got to make sure that it's consistent with the order that things are presented in the CV itself. Okay, super important, guys. Including 3 in top-tier journals. Okay, so my issue with top-tier journals is within what subfield, right? And how are we operationalizing top tier? Presumably by impact factor, which is fine, right? But how are we saying that it's a top tier? Is it like top 25th percentile? I mean, what is that? Will anybody look at this and be like, you know what? None of like one of those is not top tier, right? 8 national and international conferences / okay, don't say / workshops, right? Just international conferences. comma 1 under review, right? So if 1 is under review, don't count in the 11, right? So, which sounds like you're doing, which is great, right? And I would just not say 1 under review, right? And I don't understand the sentence structure here. So it's including this, 3 in this, 8 in this, 1 in that, and then for some reason we have this at the very end, which is not parallel structure, right? Also, you should have a space after IAFC. Developed object-oriented Python web services. Do we need to capitalize Python? For Silicon Valley companies, comma, worked under Scrum management to meet tight deadlines. Okay. We got the tech stack. Advanced level of English certified by the British Council. Okay. Just have and before get. Now for this, is there a particular reason why we have everything in this order? If not, then what I would do is just make everything alphabetical order as opposed to this, because right now it's kind of all over the place. So education, let's do it. So I like the bolding here. Definitely makes it different than the education piece here. Over here, you've got the dates, good. PhD in electrical engineering, there's no need for that period, no need for this period, no need for this period, no need for this period, or this period, or this period. Take away all the periods, please. PhD in electrical engineering, and here at this university. Okay, honestly, I would delete this right here. I would also delete this here in terms of the location. I just don't think that it's me personally, I don't think that it's necessary. Right, if you want to keep it there, that's honestly fine. But this is just my opinion. Okay, so thesis, we've got this, but you need to not capitalize things like the word for instance. Any of these prepositional phrases, it's just not necessary, or any preposition rather. We've got the PDF here, so like I said about the font. Supervisor, you may want to consider bolding thesis and bolding supervisor. Don't really have to in this case. But, just throwing that out there. If you're going to use the periods here, you need periods surrounded after the PH and after the D. My recommendation is to just remove the periods here and just say capital B, capital S, lowercase c. Systems engineering, remove the period. Up here, this is a consistency, which is not great for me to see this, right? So D in data is capitalized, M in methodologies and so forth. Here, nothing, except for new. Capitalized fault, capitalized detection, capitalized classification, capitalized methods, get that period out of there. Okay, don't say project if you can help it. Say thesis if you can. Undergraduate thesis, that's the thing. Okay. Professional experience. Okay. Now, is it professional experience or work experience is the question that I've got, right? Because technically your publications could be professional experience as well, right? So here we go. Process engineer, aiding tenure to deploy third-party predictive editor for welding machines. Okay, you've got 2 sentences here, so it is appropriate to be able to have the period. Having to develop a predictive model for the set point temperature of an induction heater to prevent defects in the monsters. And tech stack, again, remove that here, and then have the word and here, right? Now, again, consistency, guys, right? So first of all, the order should be the same right here. Notice how matplotlib is nowhere to be found here, right? The second thing is scikit-learn versus scikit-no-learn. Gotta be consistent, right? XGBoost, no XGBoost. That's not good. Okay, so make it consistent, please. Here, okay. Now, postdoctoral fellow should technically be under education as well, right? Postdoctoral fellowships would count as education. It would just come before the PhD. Okay, so just a little side note there. And then here, like I said, we need double that amount of space there. We need double this amount of space here, okay? So same comments about the stuff at the top. Let's take a look. Worked with these guys on detecting illegal. Okay. Data's creation involved browser detection. PDF array was possible to identify some. Okay. I also taught the undergraduate course of take the applied mathematics and data science. Okay, so this doesn't really make sense. You taught the undergraduate course Just say, don't even say also. I taught the undergraduate course entitled Interactive Web Development. And then, is it to students in this department? I don't understand. So that should be reworded. The course received great feedback due to its homework, which was tailored to maximize the student learning. Maximize, just say the learning, not the student learning of these three. More details of this. No need for the backslash at the end here. Tech stack. Please just make sure all those things are mentioned in your tech stack up here. It seems like a lot of them are not. We need that to happen because you have a very impressive background with the tech stack. Same thing that I mentioned before, guys, in terms of the alphabetization there, if possible or necessary. Okay, graduate researcher here. Worked with an R&D project fully funded by the Brazilian oil and gas company, Petrobras, and after this. To investigate incremental learning AI systems for fault detection and adaptive diagnosis in industrial processes. Was involved in creating smart data, a full platform written in Python to run incremental. Okay, remember Oxford, comma there. All the data used to feed our algorithms came from the multiple sources under different communication protocols, such as blah, 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 Oxford, comma. Here, please. Smart data got it. Probably can remove this depending on who is reading the CV, right? Because you haven't really explained anything anywhere else, and here you're going into explanation mode. Also represented the team in technical training and presentations. If you've given a lot of presentations and teaching and these sorts of things, especially if you want to apply for a faculty position, for example, you really should take that and teaching this undergraduate course and have a totally separate section for teaching experience. Right? That would be a good idea if you have that much experience, right? Also involved writing scientific papers, research products of our group, okay? Presumably those are represented on the next page, eh? We got this. Back-end, impacted thousands of people. Okay. Capital B, capital U, capital U, capital S, capital U, capital P. Same comments on the tech stack. Okay. Cool. Okay, publications. I'm assuming this is IEEE, but I'm not sure. I am not familiar with IEEE, so you'll have to forgive me on that one in terms of not being able to read it, but just do me a favor and make sure you go back through one more time to be able to make sure that everything is, in fact, in the correct format, okay? So, love that you've got the DOIs. Terrific job with that. Now I notice here in applied soft computing, then you give the volume and the pages. Up here, no volume, no pages. Up here, no volume, no pages. Consider adding those. All about identifying consistencies. This is why if you guys send me your CV and, if I don't have the time, guys, to be able to do a review of it, you can always book a session with me so we can go through yours. I have a limited amount of time, I'm sure you can understand. And, we can go through in this amount of detail. Okay, so it could just be the style, okay, in terms of this being something that's for conferences. I don't know because I think it's IEEE. For these, though, notice how A is lowercase, approach is lowercase, E is lowercase, B is lowercase, A is lowercase, A is lowercase. All of a sudden, everything here is capitalized, right? And so just consider, is it supposed to be capitalized or maybe not? Okay. Love that you have one accepted. This is great. Love that you're getting out there. Make sure you leverage those opportunities to be able to build up that social capital, okay? Let's see. Okay. Okay. Okay, again, see everything capitalized here, everything capitalized here, capitalized here, capitalized here, Here, back to the non-capitalized, 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 right? This is why, guys, it's always good to have somebody. I mean, I can do it for you, obviously. You know, get a session with me and we can go through something even deeper than this. But just take into consideration, I mean, you guys can see how much time it takes to be able to do this, but you got to go through, you got to have somebody go through with a fine-tooth comb who's not you, right? This one, lowercase. It's an invited talk. Thing I'm interested in is here, whatever we've got, you know, the italicization. Do we need any italicization down here? Right? Since this is invited talks and presentations, just delete invited talk here and delete presentation here. It's just not necessary, mate. Okay. Awards and scholarships. Let's see. Is it Young Adult Support Award? Would be better if you say award. Granted by the... Or Young Author Support awarded by la 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 la. Okay. Again, remove all the periods. Research scholarship. I would also capitalize research and scholarship. Comma before this. Does this mean you got it for 3 years? And then 2 years? 2 years? Or is that just the period that it covered? Okay. This is a problem. That is not the acronym for this, so nobody's going to know what that means. Also, the word development, is there a reason why we've got to have the hyphen at the end? Can we not just push to the next line? Research activities. Oh yeah, I've already gone through that with you. And then volunteer work. Honestly, my recommendation here, take out volunteer work and talk about it in your personal statement. That's what I would say for this one. All right, overall solid CV though. Really, good job. Very nice. All right, guys, that will finish us up for today's review. I hope you guys learned something. Please do support the channel and the development of my time and content like this by becoming a patron of the channel. You guys know that I love you. You can do that via the Patreon website, the link for which is below. Thank you guys so much. I very much appreciate you. Like I always say, if you want to book a one-on-one session with me, you can do that via my private website, which is down in the description box below as well. Peace. Thank you so much for stopping by, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here as always. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more in this series on navigating academia, please click on one of these links over here to be able to view more original content. I hope to see you there.